Welcome to the Book Lounge. If you're chasing success but feel stuck at the same level, this video is exactly what you need. Today, we're bringing you What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith, one of the most powerful guides on breaking through invisible barriers holding you back. You might be doing everything right, but what if small, unnoticed habits are the only things standing between you and the next big leap in your career and personal growth? Goldsmith, a world-renowned leadership coach, reveals the tiny behaviors that silently sabotage your progress, and more importantly, how to fix them. Stick around, because this audiobook is packed with game-changing insights that will shift the way you lead, work, and grow. By the end, you'll have the tools to stop self-sabotage and start leveling up in ways you never imagined. Let's get started. Chapter 1. You are here. Success is a double-edged sword. The very habits and behaviors that got you to where you are today may be the exact things preventing you from reaching the next level. That's the core idea of this chapter. Many high achievers believe their past successes are proof that they're doing everything right. After all, if they weren't, they wouldn't have made it this far. But here's the hard truth. Being talented, hardworking, and driven isn't always enough. At some point, those very strengths can turn into blind spots. And those blind spots? They quietly stall progress without you even realizing it. This chapter forces you to pause and take a hard look at yourself. Are you as self-aware as you think? Have you ever dismissed feedback because you thought you knew better? The reality is, when people around you, colleagues, employees, friends, hesitate to point out your flaws, those flaws grow unchecked. The higher you rise, the less likely people are to call you out. That's dangerous. The message here is clear. If you're not paying attention to the subtle ways you might be holding yourself back, you could be unknowingly sabotaging your own success. This chapter sets the stage for everything that follows. It challenges you to reflect, to ask yourself, what behaviors am I carrying forward that no longer serve me? It's not about self-doubt. It's about self-awareness. Growth isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter. And that means identifying the habits that once worked but now need to change. This chapter is your wake-up call. You've made it this far, but if you truly want to move forward, it's time to shift your mindset. Chapter 2. Enough about you. The higher you climb, the more your success depends on the people around you, not just on your own intelligence, hard work, or talent. Yet too often, high achievers fall into a dangerous trap. They make everything about themselves. This chapter is a wake-up call for anyone who's ever dominated conversations, dismissed feedback, or subtly made others feel less important. It forces you to confront an uncomfortable reality. Your achievements don't excuse bad habits. Being the smartest person in the room doesn't mean others don't have valuable contributions. And if you're not careful, your need to prove yourself can actually push people away. One of the biggest barriers to personal and professional growth is an unchecked ego. You might not even realize it's holding you back. Maybe you interrupt too much, always have to be right, or struggle to give others credit. These habits seem small, but over time they erode relationships and trust. People stop engaging, stop sharing ideas, stop caring. And when that happens, your influence, your true power, begins to slip. This chapter shifts the focus outward. It challenges you to stop obsessing over your success and start paying attention to the people who help you achieve it. Are you listening as much as you speak? Are you lifting others up, or constantly trying to prove your worth? The key to continued success isn't in making yourself look better. It's in making the people around you feel valued, heard, and empowered. Real leaders understand that success isn't a solo act. If you want to move forward, it's time to let go of the need to be the center of attention. Focus less on you and more on the people who will help you get to where you want to go. Chapter 3. The Success Delusion, or Why We Resist Change. Success can be intoxicating. It convinces us that we're doing everything right, that our instincts, decisions, and behaviors are what got us here. So why change? This chapter unpacks one of the biggest traps successful people fall into, the belief that their past achievements are proof that they don't need to improve. This is the success delusion, the false sense of security that makes us blind to our own flaws. The irony? The more successful we become, the harder it is to see what's holding us back. We credit our accomplishments to our intelligence, our skills, our work ethic, when in reality, luck, timing, and other people have played a much bigger role than we like to admit. And here's where it gets dangerous. The very confidence that helped us rise can turn into arrogance. We resist feedback. We ignore signs that certain behaviors are no longer serving us. We assume that if we've made it this far, we must be doing something right. So why listen to criticism? Why adjust? This mindset is exactly what stops people from reaching the next level. This chapter forces you to take a step back and ask yourself, am I really open to change? Are there behaviors I've dismissed because I'm too busy justifying my success? Growth requires humility. It demands that we challenge our own assumptions and acknowledge that what got us here won't necessarily take us further. The message is clear. Success isn't a free pass to stay the same. If you want to continue evolving, you have to let go of the illusion that past victories guarantee future ones. Real progress begins when you stop resisting change and start embracing the idea that you are a work in progress, no matter how high you've climbed. Chapter 4, The 20 Habits. Success isn't just about what you do right, it's also about what you need to stop doing. This chapter uncovers 20 common habits that silently hold people back, especially high achievers who don't realize their own behaviors are working against them. These aren't dramatic, obvious failures. They're small, everyday habits, so ingrained that they often go unnoticed. But over time, they damage reputations, weaken relationships, and create invisible barriers to success. Some of these habits are easy to spot: winning at all costs, constantly needing to be right, or failing to give proper credit. Others are more subtle but just as destructive, like clinging to the past, refusing to express regret, or passing judgment on others. Then there's the habit of making excuses, speaking when you should be listening, or withholding information to maintain a sense of control. Each of these behaviors erodes trust and respect, often without the person even realizing it. The key takeaway? These habits aren't about competence, they're about behavior. You can be brilliant, hardworking, and talented, yet still struggle to move forward because of habits that push people away. And here's the real challenge. The higher you climb, the less likely people are to call you out on these flaws. Colleagues and employees may tolerate them, but they won't forget them. This chapter isn't about pointing fingers. It's about self-awareness. It's a mirror, forcing you to ask, which of these habits am I guilty of? Not in a dramatic way, but in those small, everyday moments that add up over time. Recognizing them is the first step toward breaking them. And if you're serious about growing into the kind of leader, professional, or person who continues to rise, these are the behaviors you need to leave behind. The message is simple but powerful. Success isn't just about what you achieve, but about how you show up in the world. If you want to go further, it's time to start unlearning the habits that are quietly holding you back. Chapter 5, The 21st Habit, Goal Obsession. There's a hidden danger in relentless ambition, one that disguises itself as a strength. This chapter exposes a habit that often goes unnoticed because it looks like dedication, drive, and perseverance. But in reality, goal obsession can be a trap, blinding you to everything else that truly matters. At first glance, setting and achieving goals seems like the ultimate formula for success. And in many ways, it is. But what happens when the pursuit of those goals becomes all-consuming? When the need to win, to accomplish, to check off the next milestone starts to override common sense, ethics, relationships, and even personal well-being. That's when ambition turns toxic. The problem isn't having goals. It's when those goals become so dominant that they cloud judgment. People with goal obsession push forward at any cost. They neglect people, dismiss emotions, and sacrifice long-term success for short-term victories. They justify bad behavior in the name of results, convincing themselves that getting there is all that matters. But what if reaching the goal means damaging trust? Hurting the team? Losing sight of values? This chapter forces you to ask yourself, am I chasing goals at the expense of everything else? Have I ever dismissed someone's concerns because they didn't align with my agenda? Have I been so fixated on an outcome that I ignored the damage I was causing along the way? These are hard questions, but essential ones. Because success without balance, without self-awareness, can be just as dangerous as failure. The message is clear. Goals should drive you, but they shouldn't define you. Winning means nothing if you burn bridges along the way. True success isn't just about what you accomplish. It's about how you achieve it and who you become in the process. The challenge isn't to stop setting goals, but to pursue them without losing sight of the bigger picture. Chapter 6, Feedback. Feedback is the fuel for growth, but only if you're willing to listen. This chapter reveals why so many high achievers struggle with feedback, and more importantly, how to change that. Most people think they're open to feedback. They nod politely, they ask for opinions, they even invite criticism. But deep down, many aren't truly listening. They're filtering, justifying, or outright dismissing what they don't want to hear. And the more successful someone becomes, the harder it is to get honest feedback at all. People hesitate to be direct with those in power. They soften their words, or worse, stay silent altogether. This chapter highlights a critical truth. If you're not actively seeking out and embracing feedback, you're limiting your own growth. The most effective leaders and professionals don't just accept feedback, they crave it. They understand that blind spots exist, that perception matters more than intention, and that feedback is the only way to bridge the gap between how they see themselves and how others experience them. One of the biggest takeaways here is that feedback isn't about defending yourself. It's about listening without ego. The goal isn't to argue or explain. It's to absorb, reflect, and act. The most valuable feedback is often the hardest to hear, but that's exactly why it's so important. Another crucial insight: the best feedback doesn't always come naturally. You have to ask for it repeatedly and intentionally, not just from superiors, but from colleagues, employees, friends, anyone affected by your actions. And when you get it, say thank you. No defensiveness, no excuses, just gratitude and action. This chapter challenges you to reframe feedback from something to tolerate into something to seek out. Because real success isn't about proving you're perfect, it's about showing you're willing to grow. And the moment you start embracing feedback instead of resisting it, everything changes. Chapter 7, Apologizing. Few things are more powerful or more underestimated than a genuine apology. This chapter uncovers why apologizing is not a sign of weakness, but rather a mark of true leadership and maturity. High achievers often struggle with apologies, not because they don't care, but because they've been conditioned to value strength, confidence, and control. Admitting fault can feel like a loss, like an unnecessary dent in their authority. But here's the truth: refusing to apologize doesn't make you look stronger. It makes you look disconnected, arrogant, and out of touch with the people around you. This chapter dismantles the myth that apologies are about blame. A real apology isn't about humiliation or self-sacrifice. It's about accountability. It's about acknowledging when your words, actions, or even unintended behaviors have impacted others negatively. And the best part? A sincere apology doesn't weaken your reputation. It strengthens it. But not all apologies are created equal. Many people offer apologies that are laced with excuses, deflections, or justifications. I'm sorry if you were offended. I'm sorry, but that wasn't my intention. These aren't real apologies. They're subtle ways of dodging responsibility. A true apology is simple and direct. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I will do better. No conditions, no excuses, just ownership. One of the most eye-opening insights from this chapter is how a single well-placed apology can repair relationships, restore trust, and create a culture of respect. Whether in leadership, business, or personal life, the ability to apologize shows emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and confidence. At its core, this chapter is about humility. It challenges you to ask yourself, do I resist apologizing because of pride? Do I downplay my mistakes instead of owning them? The reality is, no one expects perfection, but they do expect honesty. And the moment you learn to apologize with sincerity, you unlock a deeper level of connection, credibility, and respect. Chapter 8, Telling the World or Advertising. Change, no matter how meaningful, is invisible unless people see it. This chapter breaks down a crucial but often overlooked step in personal growth, letting others know you've changed. Because if no one notices your progress, does it even matter? Many people assume that improvement speaks for itself. They believe that if they start listening more, interrupting less, or leading with humility, the world will automatically take note. But reality doesn't work that way. People form opinions based on past behavior, and those impressions stick. Even if you've made significant progress, others may still see you as the person you used to be. This chapter challenges you to take control of your own narrative. Change is not just about internal growth. It's about demonstrating that growth in a way that others recognize and believe. That doesn't mean bragging or forcing people to acknowledge your efforts. It means being intentional about showing up differently, consistently, and visibly. One of the biggest insights here is that people need reinforcement. If you've been known for being dismissive, even a month of active listening might not be enough to convince others that you've truly changed. They may assume it's temporary or insincere. The key is persistence, proving over time that your new behavior isn't an act, but the real you. Another powerful takeaway: enlist others in the process. Let people know you're working on improving a specific habit and invite them to hold you accountable. When you make change a shared journey, it not only strengthens relationships, but also makes transformation more credible. At its heart, this chapter is about communication. It forces you to ask, am I assuming that people see my progress? Am I actively reinforcing my changes through my actions? Growth isn't just about who you become. It's about making sure the world sees and believes it too. Because the greatest change is the one that leaves a lasting impact, not just on you, but on everyone around you. Chapter 9, Listening. We often think of communication as talking, but the most powerful skill is listening. This chapter dives into why true listening is a game changer for success and why so many leaders fail to master it. At its core, listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about truly understanding the message, the emotions behind it, and the intentions driving it. Yet, many of us are too focused on formulating our response while the other person is speaking. We're eager to be heard, but we forget the importance of hearing first. This chapter reveals that great leaders and successful professionals know how to listen with purpose. They don't just wait for their turn to talk. They engage, reflect, and ask questions that show they care about what others are saying. And the payoff? Listening builds trust, fosters collaboration, and uncovers insights that can't be found through talking alone. One powerful idea presented here is that listening doesn't just improve relationships. It enhances your own decision-making. When you listen deeply, you absorb perspectives and information that you might otherwise miss. You hear what's not being said, you pick up on the emotional cues, and you gain a deeper understanding of complex issues. This allows you to make smarter, more informed choices. But here's the catch. Listening requires patience and self-control. It requires putting aside your ego, resisting the urge to interrupt, and genuinely paying attention. This is easier said than done, especially for high achievers who are used to being in charge of the conversation. But mastering listening can be the difference between just hearing feedback and actually using it to improve. The chapter challenges you to ask yourself, when was the last time I truly listened? If you're not paying attention to others, you're missing the key to deeper relationships and better success. Listening isn't passive. It's an active, essential skill that shapes who you are and how others perceive you. Chapter 10, Thanking. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for success, yet it's often overlooked. This chapter reveals why saying thank you isn't just a polite gesture. It's a transformative habit that can strengthen relationships, inspire loyalty, and even boost your own personal growth. At first glance, thanking someone might seem like a simple, almost automatic act. But the real impact of gratitude comes from being intentional about it. It's not enough to just say thanks. The power lies in recognizing the effort, intention, and value of the other person's contribution. Gratitude isn't just about acknowledging good deeds. It's about creating an environment where people feel valued, seen, and appreciated. The chapter points out that often, high achievers get so focused on their goals that they forget to show appreciation for those who help them along the way. Whether it's a team member, a colleague, or even a friend, saying thank you has a ripple effect. It strengthens connections, encourages collaboration, and motivates others to continue supporting your efforts. One powerful insight is how expressing gratitude can also help you grow. When you take the time to thank someone, you remind yourself of the value others bring to your life. It forces you to step out of your own world and acknowledge the contributions that make your success possible. This perspective shift helps you stay grounded, humble, and aware of the people around you who are supporting you, even in small ways. Thanking isn't just a formality, it's a tool for building a culture of respect and mutual appreciation. The chapter encourages you to ask yourself, do I show enough gratitude to the people who help me? The simplest of words, thank you, can be the most profound. Don't underestimate its power. Chapter 11, Following Up. Action without follow-through is like a plan without a purpose. This chapter reveals why following up is an essential but often overlooked step in achieving lasting change and success. You may think that once you've had a conversation, given feedback, or made a promise, the job is done. But that's where many people go wrong. Without follow-up, any progress you've made risks falling off track. The commitment you've shown to a project, relationship, or personal growth will lose its momentum without consistent attention. This chapter highlights the power of ongoing engagement. Following up isn't just about checking off tasks or ensuring accountability. It's about demonstrating dedication. It shows that you're invested in the process, not just the outcome. Whether you're working with a team or working on yourself, regular check-ins are a way to ensure that intentions translate into lasting results. One key point is that following up fosters trust. When you take the time to circle back and ensure things are progressing, people notice. It shows that you care enough to see things through and that you value others' time and efforts. In leadership, following up communicates that you're a reliable and supportive figure, one who's committed to driving results, not just issuing directives. The chapter also touches on the importance of feedback loops. Following up provides the opportunity to assess whether actions are aligned with the intended goals. It's a chance to course correct before problems escalate, to celebrate small wins, and to reinforce accountability. This chapter challenges you to reflect. How often do I truly follow up? Do I follow through on my promises, or do I leave things unfinished? True leadership and growth are measured by your ability to go the distance, and that means following up long after the initial effort. It's the key to making change stick and ensuring that progress isn't just a fleeting moment, but a sustained, meaningful transformation. Chapter 12, Practicing Feedforward. Feedback is vital, but it's the feed forward that drives real transformation. This chapter reveals how the act of giving and receiving feedforward can accelerate growth and propel you to the next level of success. Unlike feedback, which focuses on past behaviors, feedforward is all about looking ahead, focusing on what someone can do differently in the future to improve. It shifts the focus from what went wrong to what can be done right. Instead of looking backwards, feedforward pushes you forward, helping you evolve in practical, actionable ways. One of the most insightful points in this chapter is how feedforward creates a positive and forward-thinking environment. When you're focused on solutions, on possibilities, you encourage growth in yourself and others. It shifts the conversation from judgment to collaboration. Giving feedforward isn't about criticizing. It's about offering constructive suggestions that can help someone enhance their skills, improve their performance, and achieve greater success. For the person receiving feedforward, it's refreshing. Rather than dwelling on past mistakes, they're invited to envision a better future. They feel empowered, not diminished. And because the focus is on the future, feedforward creates a sense of excitement and possibility, not defensiveness. The chapter also emphasizes that feedforward is a two-way street. By giving it, you're not only helping others, you're opening yourself up to new perspectives, ideas, and strategies. Practicing feedforward encourages a culture of continuous improvement where everyone is engaged in the process of learning and growing. What's especially powerful about feedforward is its simplicity. It's easy to do, and it can have a huge impact. Instead of bogging people down with lengthy critiques, feedforward offers a quick, clear path to improvement. It's action-oriented and future-focused, a tool that builds confidence and drives results. This chapter challenges you to ask, how can I start practicing feedforward today? It's a simple but profound shift that can change the way you approach growth, both in yourself and in those around you. Chapter 13, Changing, the Rules. Change is never easy, especially when it means breaking away from habits that have defined your success so far. But in this chapter, the idea of changing is redefined. It's not about forcing yourself to become someone you're not. It's about making strategic adjustments that enable you to reach new heights. The key message here is that change isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process that requires intentional effort, and it's governed by a set of rules. The first rule is that change must come from within. External pressures and superficial attempts at transformation won't lead to lasting success. True change happens when you're committed to improving not just your actions, but your mindset. Another crucial rule: you have to start small. Big, sweeping changes often fail because they overwhelm us. Instead, focus on incremental shifts, small, manageable changes that gradually build up over time. By mastering these small steps, you build the momentum necessary for more significant transformation. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of making change visible to others. When you make a conscious effort to change and follow through on it, people start noticing. This visibility not only reinforces your commitment, but also strengthens relationships. It signals to those around you that you're evolving, which can inspire them to do the same. Most importantly, the rules of change remind us that setbacks are normal. Perfection is a myth. There will be moments when progress feels slow or when you fall back into old patterns. The key is to stay consistent, learn from missteps, and keep pushing forward. In the end, changing the rules is about redefining success on your own terms. It's about evolving in ways that make you more effective, more connected, and more capable of achieving your goals. The process may not be easy, but the rewards, personal growth, stronger relationships, and greater success are more than worth it. Chapter 14, Special Challenges for People in Charge. Being in charge comes with its own set of unique challenges. Challenges that can make or break your effectiveness as a leader. In this chapter, the focus is on the often overlooked struggles that come with leadership and how understanding them can make all the difference in achieving true success. The first challenge highlighted is the misconception that being in charge means having all the answers. Many leaders feel the pressure to always know what's best, to constantly project confidence and certainty. However, this can lead to isolation and, ironically, to a lack of trust from those you lead. The most effective leaders know that it's okay to admit when they don't have all the answers. And even more important, they actively seek input from their teams. Leadership is about collaboration, not isolation. Another key challenge is managing the balance between being authoritative and being approachable. Leaders often struggle with the tension between commanding respect and maintaining relationships. Being too authoritarian can create a hostile environment, while being too lenient can undermine your credibility. The chapter encourages leaders to strike a balance by fostering an open, inclusive culture where feedback flows both ways. When you actively listen to those around you, you create a space for innovation and growth. Additionally, the chapter highlights the challenge of staying grounded despite the power dynamics. Leaders, especially those at the top, can often become disconnected from the realities of their teams. The further you are from the day-to-day operations, the harder it can be to understand the needs and concerns of your people. Great leaders make a point to stay connected, whether through regular interactions or by truly understanding the day-to-day struggles of their teams. Ultimately, the chapter reminds us that leadership is an ongoing learning process. The challenges are real, but with awareness, humility, and a commitment to continuous growth, those in charge can navigate them successfully and become stronger leaders in the process. Coda, you are here now. In the final chapter, the journey that began with the first steps toward personal growth comes full circle. The closing section offers a powerful reflection on where you stand now and what lies ahead. It's a reminder that change is a process, not an event, and that the work you've started is only the beginning of an ongoing evolution. This last chapter emphasizes that you've already achieved success by making the commitment to change. However, it also acknowledges that true transformation doesn't come from a single breakthrough. It's a sustained effort, a series of incremental shifts, and a constant, mindful approach to improvement. There is no destination where you can stop and say, I'm done. Instead, success is about making progress each day, building on the foundation you've already laid. The final chapter insists that you are here now, in the moment of self-awareness, and that is the most powerful starting point for the next phase of growth. A striking element of this chapter is its call to embrace the present. So often, we're fixated on where we want to go or where we've been, but the real power lies in the here and now. In this moment, you possess the awareness to shape your actions, to make better choices, and to continue transforming in ways that align with your evolving goals. The message is clear. While the past and future matter, it's the actions you take today that determine your future trajectory. It's also a call to humility. Acknowledge your progress, but don't settle. Reflect on the changes you've made and continue to seek new opportunities for growth. The work you've done so far has been valuable, but now it's time to push forward, knowing that the journey is never truly complete. This final chapter closes with a sense of hope and empowerment. You may have started the process of change with uncertainty, but now you're equipped with the tools, awareness, and mindset to continue that journey. The road ahead is long, but filled with possibility. The key takeaway from this conclusion? You are here now, and that is exactly where you need to be to start the next phase of your growth. The future is yours to shape. And that brings us to the end of what got you here won't get you there. But your growth doesn't stop here. If something in this audiobook struck a chord with you, drop a comment below. What stood out the most? What lesson will you start applying today? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, let me know which book you want me to feature next. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Book Lounge so you never miss another powerful audiobook. There's so much more to discover, and I can't wait to share the next one with you. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next chapter.